Okie dokie, boys and girls. So today we have a front lever workout, and it's been a while, I've gotten weaker because I have been skipping on the front lever during my trip to Japan, but it's time to get back. And the focus is to become stronger. Now, that might seem obvious, but not everyone does that. So you can approach your workout to just destroy yourself as much as possible, right? To just do everything to failure. But the approach I'm taking today is to do my exercises. I want to do front lever pull-ups and I want to do some front lever presses and holds, right? My goal is to do those exercises and do enough, do the optimal amount to become stronger next time, to be able to handle more loads, more difficulty, more reps next time, right? It's kind of the same as a gym approach where, one day you'll be benching 3 sets of 10 on the bench, for example, with, let's say, 60 kilos. And the next time you might want to do it with 62.5 kilos, right? You gradually increase the difficulty or the weight in the case of the gym. But in calisthenics, increasing the difficulty of an exercise is the same as increasing the weight in the gym, basically, right? You're just doing a heavier exercise. Your body does not know whether it's 2.5 kilos added extra on the bar, or if it's your lever becoming longer because you're extending your legs, or because you're maybe adding weight to your pull-ups, right? So that's my focus. That's what I'm basically gonna do. Well, what I did throughout this entire bulk is to just focus on getting stronger, because I believe as long as I'm getting stronger and I'm eating enough food, I'll be putting on muscle. So that's basically iseki nicho in Japanese, right? It's two birds in one stone, right? That's the one. So let's warm up here, and then I'll explain today's menu, which is gonna be very basic. All right, actually, it doesn't feel too bad. Okay, so today's menu is gonna be 5 sets of pull-ups. This, like, basically my favorite menu or my favorite training throughout this bulk has been the 5 sets of pull-ups. Aim for a certain amount of reps. I think today, depending on how I feel on the first set, it's gonna be 8 or 10 reps, and then just do that for another 5 sets. Even if I can't get 8 reps in one go, I'm just gonna do a quick rest pass and go again. And basically next time, right, I'm gonna try and do the same amount of sets, the same amount of reps, but I'm gonna try and increase the difficulty either by doing more reps straight away, like after each other without taking a break in between, or by adding weight, or by doing a more difficult variation. That's gonna be exercise number 1. And then after that, we'll head on to some presses. But first, let's get started with this. Let's horsecock some front lever. Okay, so some of you are probably gonna wonder, what about the weights on my hips? These weights are basically 4 kilos, and the reason I use them is because when I put on 4 kilos on my hips, I'm not really like, oh, that's so much heavier. No, I'm not gonna be able to do more pull-ups. It doesn't make it the exercise more difficult for me mentally when I put the weight on. However, when I use that weight over time, like for a couple months, right, and then I take it off, mentally I do feel like, well, I'm taking off weight, so I should be able to do more, right? And it's kind of hypocritical, I guess, or delusional that, like, one way, oh, it doesn't matter, and then the other way, like, oh, I'm gonna get stronger, right? I'm gonna be able to do so much more. But training is whatever you believe in. if you believe something will work, it's gonna work. And in my case, for some reason, this just clicks. It's like a mindset. Whatever you think, right? If you think the weight is gonna make you feel heavier, it's gonna make you feel heavier. But if you feel like, well, it's not that much weight, it's not gonna make a difference, well, then it's not gonna make a difference. And for me, when I take it off, I feel still like, well, I'm gonna be able to do more. So I'm kind of, manipulating the mindset, as Eric Bugenhagen would say. You just do whatever you can to twist the exercise to make it more difficult, or to allow yourself to go harder. And then, after doing that for a period of time, you go back to the actual exercise and you're stronger than ever. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I will not mention that I'm doing weighted front lever, because in my mind, the weight doesn't matter, right? So I'm just gonna mention that right here once, and then, well, if someone asks in the comments in the next videos regarding weight on my front lever when I'm not mentioning weighted front lever, right? Then you can explain it to them. Let's go for 2 more sets. All right, my back is screaming for help. That's the feeling I missed. Okay, so I'm gonna do some front lever presses here. Front lever presses and holds, basically, just random combinations of both. And I'm doing it with some weight on my feet. And basically, this is to make the front lever feel heavy. If you make the front lever feel heavy during your training, afterwards, when you take the weight off, it's gonna feel light. That's kind of how Goku trains. I've done a lot of inspiration from Goku, and it has worked for me. So, for me, always the weighted front lever or weighted whatever, it really gives me results. So that's what I'm gonna do here as well. I think 2 sets will be fine for that. And basically, when you're training for the front lever or whatever, right, and you're struggling to go from one progression to the other, let's say it's tuck front lever to one-legged front lever, or tuck planche to advanced tuck, or advanced tuck to straddle planche especially, right? These jumps are very big. So in order to make those jumps smaller, what you can do is add weight to your current progression, and then it will become more difficult and the gap with the next progression will close. So if you just keep adding weight to your current progression, right, eventually you're going to be able to do the next one. You're going to be able to do straddle planche. You're going to be able to do full planche if you do weighted straddle planche. It just works like that. It's, that's one of the most useful things that I've used, or one of the most useful concepts that I've used in my training days to progress, basically. So let's go. Whew. One more of these. Oh, fucking shit. All right. So just like with the progression, right? If you're in the gym and you're doing bench press, the gap from 80 kilos to 100 kilos is very big. So in order to make it smaller, you add weight to the 80 kilo progression, right? You do 85 kilos or 90 kilos, and you basically shorten the gap in between 100 and 90. So it's the same concept with this. By the way, now I'm gonna take off the weights and basically do one more set, just with body weight to play around with some endurance, get the blood flowing, all that good stuff, and basically give one last final push before entering into recovery for next time. Let's go. Whew. Okay, so that's it for today's workout. Very easy and simple. I mean, 8 sets. I do one set every 4 minutes. There is a bit of a longer break in between different exercises. There is a bit of a warm up, so it took me like 45 minutes. Very easy and simple workout, but fun and also effective. Like, it's fun to do. It's fun because I make progress, right? If I do this workout on a consistent basis over and over and over again, I make insane progress. Like, before heading to Japan, I was basically doing this all the time, and I got to the strongest shape of my entire life. And that doesn't mean that this is the God-given ultimate approach, right? It just means that this is the approach that works for me. Like, it's not the only thing I've ever tried. I've tried doing one-set workouts in the front of it. I've tried doing like insane volume, basically trashing myself 14 times a week. Like, I was training twice a day, trashing myself constantly, right? I've done so much stuff, right? So many different approaches, going to the max and not going to the max, playing with rest time, doing different exercises. And then I arrive at something like this that works for me. And I feel like, a lot of people will go on the internet and see something and judge it, right? Without having even tried it yourself. I mean, by all means, go on the internet and watch everyone train. That's a good thing, right? Watch people train, learn from it. One of the things that, Master Roshi says in Dragon Ball is, of course, train hard, but also study well. You have to watch other people. And then if you see something interesting, try it for yourself. Don't be just want to judge it without actually trying. So if you feel like, hey, that, like this type of workout might be useful for me, then why don't you give it a go? And then naturally, you will just arrive at training that works for you. So that's it for today's workout. 5 sets of 8 pull-ups. I am not satisfied yet with the quality, so next time it will be just 5 sets of 8 pull-ups again, but that does not mean I'm doing the same. I'm going to try and increase the difficulty. Increase the difficulty by improving the form or by doing more weight, difficult variations, so on and so forth, right? And basically, at some point, the difficulty will be, high enough that it satisfies me. That first set of 8 pull-ups to touch, it will be easy as fuck, and then I'll be happy to increase the reps, right? And that's basically how I approach this training. One thing that I would say is missing from this training is there is no long front lever hold. I do love myself a long front lever hold. You might know from before Japan when I was working towards the 45-second hold, right? I mean, even if I am satisfied with the hold I got before Japan, I still love the front lever hold because it presents so much difficult challenges for me, right? It allows me to overcome difficult things. Like it's a good challenge for me. So I love the front lever hold, and I'm probably gonna try and incorporate it somewhere in this workout somehow. But that's something I'll have to figure out in the future. Your training, like that's something else as well, right? The training you're doing now might not necessarily be the best for you in the future, even though it is now. The training that works for you at the moment, it's tailored to your current level. It's tailored to your current goals. And as you progress, as you move on in your training journey, those things are going to change. So naturally, the training is going to change as well. It's not going to work the same way always, forever, right? And it's just one continuous search for how you can progress. And it takes, if you start training at 20 years old, let's say, you have 70 years of training life, perhaps, right? Because you're doing training, you're eating healthy, right? You're gonna live long. hopefully. So you have so many things to try out. Let's go for it, right? Let's try things out. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, that's it for today's workout. I'm gonna head downstairs and have some breakfast, have a shower as well, of course, and then I'll see you tomorrow for leg day.